So today I'm gonna try something I've never tried before, way off of any videos that I've ever made. I'm usually just doing vacation videos, travel videos from myself and to share with a few friends and family. I mean, I barely get over 10 views off, just a trip to Maui or New Zealand or Costa Rica or something like that. So this is very different for me. But I've really been studying it lately, and it's very interesting to me, and it's a little bit mind-blowing, and I feel like I'm dreaming half the time. So I'll just start from the beginning. Back in, I'd say 8 months ago, into last March 2022, my sister introduced me to a girl, early 40s, professional woman. Supposedly she was interested in a lot of the same things that I was interested in. Traveling all over the world, mountain biking, downhill biking, river rafting, bungee jumping, you name it. I love all that stuff. I love adrenaline. So I was like, okay, I'm open for the idea of meeting somebody, because at this point in my life, I've been divorced. I was out of a 12-year marriage. At that point, I was probably roughly out of a divorce for 4.5 years. I had a girlfriend for about a year and a half in between there, but by this time, meeting her, it was 4 or 5 months and that I hadn't seen anybody. I was completely feeling really good about myself. On top of, I was just recovering from a bunch of injuries. I had a distal bicep tendon tear off the bone several months before that. 4 or 5 months before, after the distal bicep tendon, I had a motorcycle crash with my son and broke collarbone, shoulder blade. And so I was really down for a little while there, because every time I would have an injury, I'd have to start from zero again, build all my strength back up, not be working, kind of be depressed and work my way out of it. And just a lot of it is a mental and physical fight. But anyway, at this period, I was pretty happy. I was healing. I was getting strong again. No drama from anything. Really low stress levels in my life. Financial stuff's great. Almost had all my bills paid off. So anyway, got introduced to her. Let's call her Jay. And everything was like perfect. When I first met her, I met her in an outside tiki bar type area. Her mom ended up showing up, and immediately I felt like I was part of the family, because they already knew my sister. So I felt like, man, I was so comfortable. And so I feel like the first date went pretty good, and it must have, because a week or so later, we kept talking through that time. We set up a second date, which we were supposed to go out on my boat and do some wakeboarding, wake surfing, or cruising around or something. And I had invited her kids, her son, and a couple nephews to come. And she was really happy about that I was just so welcoming to even people that I hadn't even met, which I always enjoy doing. I always enjoy having people out on the water, sharing the experience, teaching, whatever. I love it. That's part of my enjoyment. Most of my enjoyment is having everybody else have fun. Anyway, everybody backed out except her one day. So she ends up calling me and says, hey, you just got me today. And I'm like, perfect, it's great. So we ended up going on the water. We ended up taking the jet ski out rather than the boat. I think it was a pretty perfect date again. Went to a couple lakes, went out to like a late dinner, had a couple beers or something. Maybe she had a glass of wine. I don't remember. We came back to my house, jumped in the jacuzzi. It was around her birthday, so I ended up giving her a couple gifts, like a bottle of wine, a sun shirt, a couple things, chocolate, stuff like that. So we ended up drinking the bottle of wine, chilling in the jacuzzi, talking. Everything was like perfect. At this point, I still didn't try anything because I didn't know if this was like going to be a romantic thing or just like a travel partner. So I just was respectful and just kept it like that. And didn't even touch her, kiss her, nothing. Just straight up, just talking, communicating, seeing what we have in common, and feeling each other out. At the end of that night, she ended up saying she had to work early in the morning, and I wasn't aware of that. By this time, it's 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and she lives a couple hours away. So I was like, hour and a half away. So I was like, oh my goodness, you should have told me earlier. I would have made sure that you got on the road and, we're headed home at a decent time. Now it's really late. This is, getting dangerous. So anyway, she asked just to take a nap and maybe she could get down there. Long story short, she ended up staying the night, which is great. That ended up being perfect that night. And then from there, I'll just speed it up. It ended up progressing pretty fast. Yeah, I was still out of work because of these injuries. So, I could spend a lot of time with her. And she had a pretty good work schedule. So, by early afternoon and stuff during the week, she was home usually, and weekends off. So, whenever I didn't have my son and I was not working, I could see her. So I could either go down to her house, see her, or she could come to my house, whatever. We could spend a lot of time together. So it progressed really fast, I think, because I wasn't working, and she had a pretty good work schedule. So within a couple, I don't know, let's say 2 to 3 weeks, we had mentioned something about a trip to New Orleans. That sounded great to me because I had a friend in Lafayette that I've been meaning to see, and I was like, well, if we're going to Louisiana, I'm gonna go see my friend in Lafayette. We ended up booking that like immediately. Like when I told her, yeah, I'll go. I mean, she bought the tickets and I paid her back, and I mean, we were within 3 weeks. I think we were going on our first vacation together, which was great. So we ended up going to Lafayette. It was, amazing. All the things you hear about love bombing, which I didn't know this was at the time. I had never experienced this before in my life because I'm coming out of, when I was younger, maybe an 8-year relationship with a girl, maybe a 2-year, and then a 12-year marriage, with total empathetic women, and it was, never experienced anything like this. So anyway, going back to the Lafayette, it was perfect. Horseback riding, airboat rides, visiting my, close friends and their kids that are close to me as well. And, it's like I'm opening my family to her. So, which was perfect. It was, couldn't ask for a better trip. Sex was good. Just the atmosphere. I think too, that was the very first time we were at this bar in downtown Lafayette having wine or something. And, there's times we could look at each other and just start crying. And, it was like, we called it happy tears because we weren't sad. We were just overwhelmed with emotion, or at least I was. And I saw the same from her, so I thought she was as well. Chills would go down my spine, and I'd just start tearing up for I don't know why. So we just called it happy tears. So And then every time that we'd have wine or something like that, we would usually do a toast, and I would try to do a really meaningful toast because I was feeling strong emotions at that time, and it was just flowing. Like anything I could think of was just, So anyway, that night, that evening, is the first time we said we love each other. I'm not. I may have said it first. I don't really remember, but I was falling in love. So that trip ended up being perfect. Came back, still everything seemed great. I was spending as much time as I could with her. I know I was getting all healed up, so my short-term disability was getting over. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to start going back to work. Now let's see how this is gonna work out as far as my work schedule, having my son, and still trying to see each other. Like, is this still gonna work out? And yeah, I went back to work, and my work schedule ended up being pretty good, and we figured it out. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal. There's a few things that would started wearing on me later. She had a big dog that would kind of get on my nerves a little bit because I'm a pet-free house, and so kind of make a mess in the house, in the yard, whatever. But I would overlook that. I would also, what I found myself overlooking was the amount of drinking that was going on. So because when I originally met her, I was hurt, I wasn't going to work, I was kind of like in vacation mode. But normally I don't drink at all. Maybe 3 times a year, maybe a concert, a get together or something. I mean, I have beer in my fridge that expires because I don't drink. So I was kind of drinking way more than I would normally drink, just because I was hanging with, we call her Jay. So, I was in vacation mode thinking it's no big deal, no big deal. Now, I remember the first time I ever went to her house, and I was like, wow. I mean, the amount of alcohol and wine in there, I've never seen in somebody's house, ever. I think she had enough to stock probably 2 full-blown bars, and I don't think I'm exaggerating. Anyway, I still was blinders to it. I didn't really recognize a drinking problem or anything. There's a few times where I noticed, she was drinking a little bit too much, and it was almost seeming like it was every time I was with her. So I started paying attention, and she had some people that know her, family members, whatever, told me also that they thought she was an alcoholic. So I started paying attention, and I could probably agree with that, but I was still making exceptions. I was in love with this girl. I was making exceptions for the amount of drinking that I was doing that I didn't really like. But in order to go out all the time, it seems like that's what we ended up doing. Whether we started with a bike ride, ended up at a restaurant, it always ended up drinking. That's not even the major problem. So as time went on, we went on another vacation, which was Maui. And again, close friends of mine, I'm opening like my world to her, staying in their house, playing with them every day, hiking, biking, motorcycle rides, cliff jumping, like just a bunch of cool stuff. Like we showed her like all the adventures of Maui that we do. Again, another good trip, but something I forgot to mention before. So me and my son got to Maui before she arrived. This is the first time that I remember something getting a little weird. So a few days into our trip, I was talking to her, and she had ended up going to a funeral or something. Then after the funeral, went to a party. She said she was at some guy's house, beachside. So at this point I could tell she was probably about 3 or 4 drinks in, because I've been around her so much. I can kind of tell after so many drinks how her speech gets and how different things get. So Time difference is really crazy too. I think it's like a 6-hour difference. So anyway, I'm talking to her and she's pretty buzzed. So I'm concerned with her because she's beachside. She's got a 30-minute drive back to my house or more. And she's supposed to be staying at my house, which her son was at my house and her dog. So I call her, I text her and I said, hey, can you please let me know you make it home safe? No response. So I wait 5 or 10 minutes. I call back, no answer. Call again, no answer. I text, nothing. So I thought it was kind of weird because I just talked to her. But the first phone call or text was within 5 minutes. So I don't know what happened within 5 or 10 minutes, how all of a sudden she went off the map and couldn't get a hold of her through text, phone call, anything. So anyway, I ended up calling her son, which was at my house, and I asked him, I said, hey, have you heard from your mom? He said, no, I haven't heard from her since 3:30 in the afternoon. I'm like, all right, so you're supposed to be home. Anyway, this night was a sleepless night for me because I was really worried about her. Like, what happened? You know, did she get in an accident, DUI, pass out? Like, you know, concerned with all kinds of things. My mind's just going crazy. So she finally calls me in the morning, and I could tell pretty drunk still, or yeah, slurring and stuff. And she tells me she's beachside still, watching the sunrise. And I'm like, well, that's kind of weird because you were supposed to be at my house, and I have cameras there. She never went to my house. Her son stayed there the whole night, which he's an adult, and her dog, and she just never went home and was obviously drinking all night or passed out or something. I have no idea. So I'm in Maui, like, can't do anything about this, and I just think it's really strange. But I've never really been my whole life a jealous person or controlling or insecure. I don't know, maybe as a teenager, don't really remember, but I know for my whole marriage and stuff, we were very secure with each other. So I know that feeling. We would go months at a time. My wife at the time would go to Brazil for a month or two at a time. I'd go to New Zealand for a month, and we had no issues with trusting each other and being secure. So I know I don't have trust issues, but I just thought this was a little strange. So anyway, she does end up coming to Maui. We did the rest of the trip. Pretty good trip. I did notice drinking every night and all this stuff. So we come back. We got another trip planned. Now, during this time, she always kept in touch with ex-boyfriends and stuff. And I did think that was weird. And I remember the Louisiana trip, it was already one guy, because I knew by the sound of the ringtones who they were, because for each ringtone it was a different person, from her mom, kids, ex-boyfriends, male friends, whatever. Most of these male friends were ex-boyfriends though, which, okay, I'm like, at first I have no say in it. As I'm getting more comfortable with it, I'm thinking, you know, some of this is getting a little disrespectful to me, because I remember on the Louisiana trip, her phone was like going off every minute or two with this guy, and we're sitting on the plane, and I'm just like, Jay, this is getting disrespectful now. We're getting ready to go on vacation together, and this guy just keeps blowing you up. Like, somebody needs to put an end to this. Tell him you're on the plane with your boyfriend, getting ready to take a trip. Like, you don't need this. So as time went on, that happened a little bit more, but at some point I made it pretty clear, and I guess she put an end to it, because I really didn't notice it for several months after that, maybe a few months after that. So our next trip, meanwhile, I forgot to mention, as you know, this love bombing experience is so intense. Like, I was, I couldn't do anything wrong. She would call me her love of her life, perfect, and me too. I would say the same. So I was love bombing too, but mine was sincere, and I could maintain that like no problem, and I did maintain it. But as time went on, I was noticing things even from the beginning, how she would talk about all these male friends and acquaintances that she knew, everything from neighbors to friends she had in other states to ex-boyfriends, all this stuff. Everybody was always so great and so this and so that. It's like over the top. And I remember thinking like, good souls and good looking. And so I said, Jay, I don't understand why all these guys in your life are so much better. Like you put everybody, it seemed to me like she put everybody on this pedestal and they were just so great, and she's really trying to pound it into my head. I tried to tell her, I was like, I don't understand the reasoning for that. Like if I had some females in my life, ex-girlfriends and all this stuff, it seems like it would only be hurtful if I was to talk so great about them to her. It seems like it would just be purposely hurtful. So I tried to, this is like some of the first times where I was trying to say, can you see my perspective? Everything from being in touch with the boyfriends and them texting and calling and messaging, and to now like putting all these other males, friends and exes and stuff on this pedestal. I started noticing like, wow, this is a weird way of making me feel inadequate. And I would tell her that. I would try to communicate as clearly as I could and as nicely as I could. I'm not a fighter as far as wanting to start an argument. I just want to clearly communicate if something's hurting my feelings. Hey, Jay, this is hurting my feelings. Can you understand why? I wouldn't want to do this to you. If I do something to you, could you please tell me? Because I would want to stop that behavior and not do it. It's not my intent. My intent is to build you up, give you all the confidence I can, make you feel special, secure, loved, everything for support. I don't want to do anything to break you down. But, these things are kind of breaking me down in a weird way. So, anyway, we had one little bit of a blowout about this because she didn't really take seeing my point of view well at all. It was kind of like talking to a wall. And I remember using that terminology a lot, telling my friends and stuff like, wow, talking to her about seeing my perspective or trying to understand how I feel I felt like I was talking to a wall. I was starting to get exhausted. Anyway, our next trip was Canada. I almost didn't go because of one of those little blowouts over these guys, neighbors, exes, whatever. But we ended up going, and I was making the best of it. That trip was, I would say, pretty good. The nephews and her son, awesome. Like I get along with them so good. I just felt like part of the family. I actually feel like one of the kids when I went down. They're around their 20s, early 20s. They all range around that age, and I just feel like I'm 20. When I'm with them, I just feel like I'm one of the boys. And my son's 15, and he fit right in too. So we had great times, mountain biking, river rafting, like just everything. But I did notice like Jay would take a lot of control over every situation. Like she had all the stuff booked, which I really appreciate because it's a lot of work. But she had our things mapped out what we were doing. Boom, 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 which is great if you're planning. I don't mind just showing up and doing the stuff. That's great. It takes a lot of stress off me. But I do remember times where I'm trying to help cook or do dishes or do certain things, and it was never good enough, or she always had to tell me how to do it and all this stuff. And still at the time I'm just like, okay, well, no problem. I kind of understand that because I have things that I like to do my way, and there's a certain way I like to do things. So I do have an understanding and a respect for people like that. But some things were a little extreme, so a lot of times I would just get out of the way and just go play with the kids and let her take control, because that's what she wanted. So let's see, we come back from Canada, and then over time, I just noticed all the time when I would do, there was a lot of times where I would spend a lot of my days doing favors for her, whether it was working on her car, transporting boat, fixing sprinklers, taking care of the pool, whatever, which I gladly would do. I love to do that. I love to be able to help out and really do something for her, because I loved her, and I really, I would rather do something special, something that she appreciates any day than buy something. I would rather spend my time and do something for her. But what I was starting to notice over the like a month's time or something, like, wow, I'm really spending a lot of time, and she did say thank you and stuff, but it was like really getting to be one-sided. I felt. And then I noticed too, there was a stretch when we would go out to dinner where she wasn't paying anymore. And these dinners are not like 30 or $50, because she liked to drink her wine. So you're talking like $100, $80, 100 something bucks, depending where we're at, how much we're drinking, a lot of factors, but it's not just a cheap dinner. So, coming from a guy too who's just out of work for 8 months on short-term disability, I still don't mind. I don't mind if it's kind of balanced, because that's the way it started. Like, I might buy one time, she buys one time. I buy one time, she buys one time. And keep in mind, this girl's a professional woman, makes 10 times what I make probably. So over time, I started really paying attention more to the drinking. I wasn't really liking it. I would try to bring it up, say, hey, Jay, this is a little bit too much. I'm going back to work now, and I am back to work, and I drive for a living. I can't drink. Like, I need to cut this off. Plus, I'm trying to get back in shape, get strong. Alcohol is just not, I don't need it to have fun. I can have fun without it. I think maybe she tried to mellow out a little, but still, I always felt like I couldn't do anything right. She always criticized me when I was leaning down and got back into like some smaller jeans and lowered my body fat and was getting strong again. I remember showing her one day, I was like, hey, today I bought 32s. I haven't worn 32s since I was out of high school. And she just looked at me. She's like, I don't like that. And I'm like, man, here I am. Like, all I want is her support on anything. And things are already a little difficult for me because I don't, I have to do it all myself. Like, I have to come back from all these injuries. No trainer, nobody helping me, nobody supporting me, just me. But I did it, and I felt good, and I was proud. But she always had a way to like knock me down. So I started noticing that with a lot of things, little comments and stuff, and I would just blow it off as a joke and stuff like that. But I always made sure that I built her up. I always, whether it was continuously through the day, good morning, beautiful girl, love you, baby doll, your eyes are so beautiful. I would always comment on every feature about her, and that wasn't good enough either, because she didn't like that, because she said, I don't want you to like me just for physical beauty. So I was like, well, I thought it was obvious how smart you were and how intelligent and thoughtful and generous and all this stuff you were. So along with the beauty, I made sure that I threw in all the other attributes as well, and would, comment on her intelligence, generosity, all these things. But as time went on, it was just getting rough. Like she was really criticizing me a lot, putting me down, and I felt she was inconsiderate with the dog, making a mess and stuff at the house, and not cleaning up, just leaving, and dog poop all over the yard. So we had some issues about that. Some of the other things that I used to kind of think was strange was like she always runs around her house naked. These windows you can see right in the house, right through the back, and she lives like on the canal. So at least 3, maybe 4 neighbors can see right in. And I mean, every day just walk around naked. And I'd tell her I'd go out to get the trash and mail or something, or go to my car and go, hey, Jay, I can see right through the window and see you just naked in it. But, I don't know. I'm pretty secure, but I just thought that was a little crazy. But in a weird way, I think she kind of liked that and knowing she was kind of getting that attention. Just my opinion. Because also, she'd be in the pool, I guess naked or really small bikinis or whatever. And I just kind of think she liked that attention. But like I said, that's just my opinion. She might say otherwise. So as time went on, the drinking was getting out of hand. So I remember in one of our disagreements, because she was getting pretty difficult for me, I remember one night I went to go buy a motorcycle, and we were in her truck, and the ex-boyfriend came up across the dash on the Bluetooth in her vehicle. And I didn't really notice right off the bat, but she brought it up. She goes, oh, he's just calling or texting to see about her knee, because she just had knee surgery, or trailer or something. And I'm like, or her boat. And I'm like, why is he concerned? You've been with me now, at this point it was probably 7 months. Why is he concerned about your boat, your knee, your dog? I already told her that I was not comfortable several months before this with this guy, this certain guy, blowing her up, because it wasn't like just once in a while. It would be like 10 times a day when I was around. So that kind of aggravated me that day, but a lot of these situations would come up, and I was pretty proud of myself, because I would just breathe, let it go, just say, it's no big deal, this is not worth getting an argument over, just let it go. Ended up buying that motorcycle that day. Well, anyway, that night I had to go to work the next morning. That night I could not sleep at all. It's just going over and over in my head. And I just said, in the morning I said, Jay, I've never asked this of anybody in my life, not even my own son, who's 15. But I need to put my mind at ease. Either I'm overthinking stuff and this is really no big deal with this guy, or it is a big deal and you really don't care. So the question I asked was, can you show me the text you've been having back and forth? So I figured if she showed me and it was nothing to hide, then I'm blowing out of proportion. If she didn't, then I guess she had something to hide. Anyway, she shows me her phone, and my adrenaline was just so high, because right off the bat I'm seeing the same pictures like of her knee and stuff that she sent me at like the same time. Same pictures of the trailer they just bought and all these, and I'm like, wow, the whole time she's talking to me, my love, baby, this and that, and she's texting her ex at the same time, within minutes of each other. So after that I just said, I cannot, this is exhausting, because I keep telling you, I keep trying to communicate things that are hurting my feelings, and I'm just, like I said, it was like talking to a wall. She just wouldn't see my perspective, and everything was my fault. So after one of those, I think it was maybe that one, in a text or something, she said, I was just short of calling you a narcissist. So I was like, Now, meanwhile, I thought I knew what narcissist was. I haven't looked it up in a long time. So it's like, let me look this up again and get a clear definition of this. So I read it and a few different definitions, and I'm like, it doesn't sound like me at all. But I'm like, whoa, it's kind of sounding like her. So as I start researching more and more, I stumble across covert narcissism. And I was just blown away. After I discovered that, there's several different good therapists, doctors, and stuff that all do research on this and all have really good information on this. And I was just glued, like it was a series, like Breaking Bad or something. Like, whoa, I got to see the next episode. And as I'm watching it, all these puzzle pieces are coming together, from the extreme highs that we had with the love bombing to where I started feeling degraded or devalued, which was part of this pattern. And I could recognize it. I was like, wow, that she would make comments to put me down. I was never good enough. I could never do anything right. I always felt like I come up short. And I used to make a joke of it. I would do something and go, well, tell me what I did wrong, because I already know. I would always try to make light of this stuff because I'm just not into stress and it's not worth arguing. So a lot of times I would just go ahead and accept it even before, because I knew it was coming. So, but a lot of the devaluing kind of hurt my feelings, but I felt okay because I feel pretty secure with myself, and I feel like I have a good self-esteem without any kind of acknowledgement or somebody trying to build me up. I would appreciate it from the one person that I wanted it the most from. It would have meant the most from. But I felt like I was strong enough, like, to just blow all that off. So as I'm watching these information nonstop about this covert narcissism, I'm recognizing, and I'm like, wow, this girl is following it like a roadmap. Like, she didn't even stray. It was perfect. The love bombing, that we're soulmates, that she mentioned getting married within a month. And I was way against marriage because I'd already been married for 12 years. I didn't want to ever get married again. She actually had me thinking about it again, because she said, you can do a prenup, put your houses in a trust for your son. You can go on my medical. Like, she was taking all the risk out of the financial risk out of getting married. So then I was like, well, I really don't have a reason not to get married, because that was my reasoning, is entangling financial assets together and just make a mess. But if I was able to keep that straight, she had me thinking about it. And by this time, I think she'd even bought an engagement ring. She said, I don't want you to spend any money. I'll buy the engagement ring. I don't even want a wedding. We can go to the courthouse. So everything was like, whoa, you're going to give me a diamond ring to give to you, which I thought was very strange. You don't want a wedding, which I think is a waste of money. You want me to secure all my finances and houses and everything else. And wow, okay. Now I'm kind of thinking about it. But I mean, this first came up probably less than a month even of us talking. So getting back to that, the love bombing, the, talk about marriage and all this stuff very early, the extreme highs. And a couple months into it, then I start noticing a lot more of the devaluing, all this stuff. So as I'm getting devalued, I'm kind of backing up on the favors that I'm doing and the amount of time that I'm driving to her house. And I'm kind of like backing up a little bit, going, whoa, I might have got myself in a mess. So the next phase, and I was noticing too some things that I thought were lies, and that's was part of this cycle of the covert narcissist. lying, cheating, and all this stuff. So I already think that when I was in Maui, that ended up being cheating, but I'm not certain. I mean, she could have passed out, she could have whatever, but her responses to that were, I'm pretty sure she was lying, just in the way she was responding, stuttering, and couldn't think how she was going to answer when I originally answered. So as I'm pulling away on my amount of favors, amount of time that I'm giving her, the next thing I was expecting was the discard, because that was all part of the cycle. So she ended up doing it. She hit me with a discard right before Thanksgiving. So we were probably together like 8 months. Yeah. So I expected it, but it was still hurtful, and it's just weird. I mean, you get all the information. She's following like a roadmap, but still, when it happens, it's still hurtful, and you still don't have answers, and you're still wondering why. So I get a text the very next day or something, and it says, "Hey, are you coming over?" Because she was having some kind of Thanksgiving party, and I'm like, "That's weird. You just broke up with me. Now you're asking me if I'm coming over." So strange, but part of the cycle, the push-pull cycle of this covert narcissism, which we had a bunch of this. There was a lot of times where I felt so exhausted that I would just block her, because I was like, I'm drowning. And there's times where I would just take 2 or 3 days and just block her from everything, and I would kind of recharge, which that in itself sounds a little narcissistic, but I wasn't doing it out of a control thing. I was doing it because I needed a break. It's so exhausted. I felt like I was in a boxing match, like 10 rounds, and and it was nothing physical. It was all mental, and trying to get her to see my perspective and my points of view, which was not happening. So after the discard, she invites me over to the house, and meanwhile, I just didn't take it as an invite. I took it as like I was supposed to bring these chairs and tables over to her, so I ended up taking those over to her, and it was weird. I mean, just regular standard hug. So I ended up going and visiting some friends nearby, and I parked my truck there because I had my motorcycle. I asked her if I could park it there with the trailer, and she said no problem. So when I came back, we decided that we were going to go down the street and get something to eat, which is fine. But at this point, I guess we're just friends. But I still wanted closure, so I figured I'd take this opportunity to maybe she could tell me why she broke it off. In some way, I was relieved, because this is what I think I needed. I think she was toxic for me, and at the same time, I think she needed to be the one to break it off, so she felt like she had the power. So this actually was probably ideal, even though it feels terrible, just because you're so addicted to the good times and the highs, and like when you look back, you're just I've in my phone thousands of pictures of me and her kissing, hugging, on mountains, on the water, and boats. Like, you can't, I might as well just throw my phone away. It's overwhelming even to scroll through it. So there's so many of those that they overpower a lot of times all that negative for me, especially for a person that doesn't dwell on the negative. But I had to keep reminding myself, man, she's fitting this covert narcissism like perfect. Like, and now the discard, and now like, are you coming over and we're broken up? Like this, she was fitting it perfect. So I go eat, and meanwhile, I didn't tell her, but the week before, she had went to a play around her house, and I went down to see her on the day that I would never go down to see her, because that's the day I had my son that night. So she knows, like, I'm not free, and I'm about 2.5 hours away. But I just said, screw it. I'm going to go down and see her. I haven't seen her in like a week at this time and surprise her. Well, I go down there and she never shows up. Now, meanwhile, I had talked to her earlier in the night. She went to the play in the evening. She was supposed to come home. She had to work the next day. But I just waited. I couldn't wait any longer. And I had to go to work. So I just left. So she never came home. So the next day I said I was concerned about her because I didn't hear back from her. So she finally called me much later than she normally does in the morning, 7 something, and she's in her car calling me. And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was trying to text you and call you, or text me all night, and it wasn't going through." And I was thinking, well, why didn't you call me? But the whole time I'm just trying to be cool, and I'm not asking questions. And I was like, all right, well, at least you got a hold of me, and I know you're safe, because I didn't know if she DUI, car crash, pass out again. It's similar thing to what happened when we went to Hawaii, and I couldn't get a hold of her. She just goes missing off the map, won't answer the phone, won't text back, won't nothing until the morning. So this happened again, and this time I know she didn't come home again. So she didn't know I came down there. So as we're eating, or I'm eating dinner and I finish up, I said, "Hey Jay, why did we break up again? I just want some clarity." And she's like, "Well, I don't feel comfortable at your house anymore with my dog because you said he makes a mess." I'm like, "Okay, so that's the reason we're breaking up, because you won't feel comfortable at my house." She's like, "Yep." Which I've learned now that also fits the covert narcissist reasoning. They'll give you either no reason or a fourth grader reason to break up, something really stupid. Like for two people that are supposed to be madly in love, I don't feel comfortable at your house doesn't seem like a good reason to just blow everything out of the water and end everything. Like, there's going to be much larger obstacles and challenges in a couple's life than just not feeling comfortable with a certain situation at a time. And if she can't handle that, then she's not going to handle a lot of things. But at this point, I knew what I was dealing with, so I just let her have that weak excuse. I was like, okay, that's what it is. And I said, well, you know, Jay, I wish I would have got down to your house just a little bit earlier on Wednesday. And she just went, "What are you talking about? Wednesday? I thought you had your son." And I was like, "Well, I did, but his mom came and got him so I could come down and visit you because I didn't get to see you for a week. And I wanted to surprise you." And she just turned like white and like in shock, like almost like a rat and you catch him with a flashlight and he's stuck in the corner, nowhere to go. And she just started freaking out and goes, "I'm gonna get an Uber. I don't have to tell you anything." And she's freaking out. And we're in this like restaurant bar a mile from where she was staying. And I was like, "No, relax. Let me get you back. You don't have to get an Uber. I'll get you back." So I get her back. I asked her one more time in the parking lot, "Hey, can you just be honest with me for like 2 minutes? Like, we're broken up. What's the big deal?" "I don't have to tell you anything." Da, 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 da. I'm just like, okay. So I get her home. Meanwhile, I had her phone in my pocket because she didn't have pockets or something. So she needs her flashlight to get in the house to see this combination or whatever. And I had the phone in my hand, and she goes, "Give me my phone." And I said, "I will give you your phone. Just please." And I said, "Look in my eyes and please just tell me, just be honest with me for like 1 minute and tell me what happened on Wednesday. It doesn't matter. Like, at this point, we're broken up. It just does not matter. It doesn't matter if you passed out, you cheated, you whatever. I just want to know for myself." And she said, "If you don't give me my phone, I'm gonna walk down the street and call 911, use a payphone," which, yeah, good luck with that. But get a phone and call 911. And I'm like, oh man. So I said, Jake, just one more time, please. I will hand you your phone. Please just tell me what happened on Wednesday, and I will be done. I'll be out of your life. And she just turned one more time, and this time, it actually scared me because she said, if you don't give me your phone, I'm gonna go down and call 911. And it looked like a demon. Like that second time when she said that, first of all, I don't want to mess with any cops because I don't have to explain myself. She could make anything up, like I wasn't letting her in the house or I was in her way, whatever. I do not want to get involved with that. But that second time when she said that, just this evilness like came out of her, and I did not say one word. I handed her her phone back. I got in my truck and I left and blocked everything, and I've never looked back since. I haven't seen her since. I haven't talked to her. I've talked to like, her sister and like a family member here and there, but I don't want to know about her. I don't want her to know about me. Luckily, I don't have any social media besides my YouTube, which I put a few vacation videos on. I really don't have anything, no Facebook, no Snapchat, nothing. So I like that because I don't want her to know anything about me, and I don't want to know anything about her. But this has been a really rough couple weeks because it just feels like a dream. Like, how could all this extreme closeness, and I felt like we were having conversations and connections, and we could just look into each other's eyes, and I felt like I could see her soul, but it was all a lie. It was all fake. And that's like the hardest thing to comprehend, because a person would like, as a very empathetic person, you just cannot understand it. Like, sometimes I'll kind of understand it. I'm watching all these videos to try to give me some mental support and some understanding, but I just don't know how a person operates like that. I can't understand it. I'm trying to understand it. And I'm trying, the best advice that I've heard everywhere is just no contact. And so I'm trying to do that. But I know other people are probably going through this. And I will hopefully give you an update and see if I can stay strong. I have a vacation that was booked with her coming in February. I already have plane tickets and everything, and everything's telling me you got to back out of that, because even if I can stay silent up until then and just get on the plane and be next to her, I just don't know. Like, I don't know. It's like putting myself in the face of evil again, when by that, a month or two from now, I should be feeling a lot better. I feel good about myself. It's just, stuff hits me because I thought that we were in love and everything that I was saying was sincere and was true. And meanwhile, nothing was true. It was all just to get her claws into me. I relate it to like a vampire. It's like they get their hooks into you. They suck in your blood dry, like whatever you have to offer, whether it's, I don't know, you can work on stuff, maybe money for some people, attention, the feeling of love, which I don't think they understand. And then once you back off from that, which a lot of people do, I know I did, because I was getting a lot of negative feedback. Like I was being degraded and insulted, and like she had pushed away sometimes, and I could never do anything good enough. So yeah, it was like she was sucking me dry, and then when she felt like she had sucked me dry, she just got rid of me. And then I've heard, I didn't want to know anything, but I've heard that she already has another boyfriend and all this stuff, which I don't know is true, but it's not surprising. I mean, I'm sure she had 2 or 3 guys that she was talking to, all while she's talking to me. And I know she was. I know she was talking to at least 3 exes, at least. And I never, besides the one time I asked her to see her phone with those texts, I never looked at her phone. She tried to give me the password a couple of times. I'm like, no, I want to be able to trust you. I don't want to be looking through your phone. Although on my phone, with Apple phone, I put her face recognition on there to where she could just look at my phone and it would open. I wanted to show her I had nothing to hide. You could look at my texts, my emails, what apps I have, who I call. I don't care. I have nothing to hide. I was all in. And I actually didn't even know that I had that much energy again, because I felt like I put everything into my marriage. And I didn't feel like I had anything left. But because of that extreme highs from that love bomb and everything, it like reignited something that because I thought everything was true and legit, it reignited some kind of energy that I didn't know I had. And some thoughts that I never thought would cross my mind, like getting married and stuff like this. I never thought that would ever cross my mind. But here we are. Just been totally fooled. So I don't know. I keep watching videos and trying to understand this, and I'm trying to just one day at a time. I got a good support system, great friends that have to listen to this crap for weeks and months. I know they're sick of it. I had one good friend. He actually had to get really stern with me, like almost yelling at me, which has never happened before. He pretty much had me tearing up because, like, one of my best friends just telling me, Matt, you need to effing quit this crap. Just really getting on me, and I was just like, whoa. He called it tough love, but I called him back a couple weeks later and I thanked him. I was like, dude, I guess I really needed that, man. I mean, along with this knowledge of the covert narcissism, that really helped me too, because I didn't even know this thing existed. Anyway, I'm just putting this out here. I'm going to send it to a few friends and family so they know what I'm dealing with. And then I might just take it back off. I really don't want it to get back to my ex, whatever she was. And I don't want her to know that I'm on to her. But I'm on to her. And the next step in this cycle would be the hoovering. So if you look up any information on this, it would be when she is done with the next victim, or he wises up, or it doesn't work out, she may try to come back and hoover me somehow, which she would have to show up or call from another phone or something to get a hold of me, because I have her blocked and everything. But it's possible. You just use somebody else's phone, or you use a work phone or something, or send a letter. There's ways to do it, I'm sure. But that's the next thing that I would expect out of this cycle, because she's been following it to the T. The only reason I would think that she wouldn't, it would be two: if she finds a real sucker that just takes all her crap and for a long time, or if she's got a couple backups, which might be possible too, or she's pretty good at, I don't know, she's a decent looking girl, professional woman. Well, I don't know, it's probably easy for her just to find a bunch of suckers. I don't know. But if all that fails, I wouldn't be surprised if she hoovers me somewhere down the road. So that's the next thing that I'm preparing for. And, just have to be able to blow that off, as well as figure out what I'm going to do with this New Zealand trip coming up. I know the right thing to do is just try to get my money back or credit or something for these tickets. I really know deep down that's the right thing to do. Anyway, thank you to all my friends, family, for all the support, and hopefully this kind of clarifies stuff for people who don't know all the details. Later.